Travel bans might seem like policies that only affect people outside the United States. But the reality is very different. Every U.S. travel restriction has ripple effects that touch American families, communities, businesses, and national security. To understand the 2025 to 2026 travel ban expansion, we first need to look at history and why America imposes these bans in the first place. The United States has long used travel restrictions as a tool for national security and immigration control. Some early examples include temporary bans during global conflicts, health crises, or when documentation systems were unreliable. A well-known case is the so-called Muslim ban of 2017, which restricted travel from several predominantly Muslim countries. That policy was controversial, challenged in courts, and reshaped several times over the years. The lesson for Americans is simple. Travel bans are not just foreign policy tools. They affect families, trade, students, and communities inside the U.S. In December 2025, the U.S. government expanded travel restrictions to include 39 countries. Some face full suspension, while others have partial restrictions affecting tourist, business, and student visas. While the affected countries are spread across Africa, the Middle East, and the Caribbean, Americans should understand. This is not just about people outside the U.S. Every ban directly affects American citizens and residents, from family reunification and education to trade, business, and even cultural ties. For example, if you have a spouse, sibling, or parent in an affected country, you could face long delays or legal barriers to reunite. Businesses relying on international employees, clients, or suppliers may experience disruptions. Universities may lose students from restricted countries, affecting research, tuition revenue, and cultural exchange. Tourism and hospitality industries may see fewer visitors, which can affect American jobs. Understanding these impacts is crucial because Americans often underestimate how global mobility policies influence life at home. Travel bans are officially justified by concerns over national security, preventing entry of individuals who may pose threats, fraud prevention, stopping fraudulent documentation and visa overstays, data gaps, ensuring the U.S. receives sufficient information from certain countries to vet travelers. While critics may call these bans overly broad or discriminatory, the government argues that protecting American citizens is the top priority. As we move through this documentary, you'll see exactly how these security and administrative measures translate into real-world effects for Americans, their families, and their communities. To summarize Module 1, U.S. travel bans have a long history, often tied to security and policy needs. The 2025 to 2026 expansion affects 39 countries worldwide, both fully and partially. Americans are directly impacted in family, business, education, and cultural spheres. Understanding the rationale behind these bans is key to anticipating the effects on your life, community, and the nation. In the next module, we will break down the exact countries affected, the type of restrictions imposed, and the categories of visas impacted, so you can see the full scope of the 2025 to 2026 U.S. travel ban. In December 2025, the United States expanded its travel restrictions to include 39 countries worldwide. Some nations are under full suspension, meaning most citizens cannot enter the U.S., while others face partial restrictions, limiting certain visa categories. Understanding these distinctions is critical because what happens abroad directly affects Americans at home. The full entry suspension applies to countries whose citizens are completely barred from entering the U.S., unless they meet specific exemptions. These countries include Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen. Newly added nations: Burkina Faso, Laos, Mali, Niger, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, and Syria. Individuals holding Palestinian Authority travel documents are also barred. Full suspension means that even non-immigrant visas, like tourist, student, or business visas, may be denied or suspended for these citizens. Exemptions exist for diplomats, lawful permanent residents, and travelers with previously approved visas. But for the majority of new applicants, entry is not possible. For Americans, This means families with relatives in these countries face severe delays or even temporary separation. It also impacts businesses and universities that rely on talent from these nations. Other countries face partial restrictions, meaning specific visa types are affected while some travelers may still enter. Countries in this category include Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Burundi, Cuba, Côte d'Ivoire, Dominica, Gabon, Gambia, Malawi, Mauritania, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Tonga, Togo, Venezuela, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. In practical terms, tourist visas, student visas, exchange visitor visas, and some immigrant visas may be suspended or delayed. For Americans, partial restrictions can affect family visits. Even if the ban is partial, visa delays may keep loved ones apart for months. Students, U.S. universities may see reduced international enrollment, affecting tuition revenue, research, and diversity. Businesses, foreign employees, or clients may face entry delays, affecting operations. Even partial restrictions can have a ripple effect, creating disruptions for Americans in everyday life. To fully understand the implications, it's important to know which visas are affected. Non-immigrant visas include tourist and business, often blocked for partial ban countries. Student visas, affected students may not start or continue studies. Exchange visas, programs like internships, research, or cultural exchange may be delayed. Immigrant visas include family-sponsored and employment-based visas. New applications from full-ban countries may be suspended indefinitely. Understanding these distinctions is crucial because Americans with family, students, or business ties in these countries are directly impacted. While it may seem like these policies only target foreign nationals, Americans feel the consequences in multiple ways. Family impact: spouses, children, parents, or siblings from banned countries may face indefinite separation. Delays in visas, interviews, or travel exemptions directly affect American families. Education: students from partially restricted countries may lose access to U.S. universities, affecting both the student and the institution. Business and economy: U.S. companies relying on employees or clients abroad may experience delays, canceled deals, or labor shortages. Community and social life: diaspora communities may see cultural and social disruption, as visitors from restricted countries are delayed or blocked. Some travelers are exempt: diplomats and government officials. Lawful permanent residents: travelers with previously approved visas before the ban took effect. These exceptions protect certain travelers, but many ordinary citizens from restricted countries still face barriers, which, in turn, affects Americans relying on them. To recap, Module 2, 39 countries are affected, some fully suspended, others partially restricted. Visa types determine who can or cannot enter the U.S. Even partial restrictions have ripple effects on American families, students, and businesses. Exemptions exist, but they do not cover all travelers. Understanding the full scope is critical because Americans are not just passive observers. These restrictions directly influence lives, communities, and the economy. In the next module, we'll examine the full suspension countries in detail, exploring why each was included and the specific implications for Americans with ties to these nations. Stay tuned to understand how these bans directly impact your family, community, and business. In Module 2, we introduce the 39 countries affected by the 2025 to 2026 U.S. travel ban. Now, we focus on the full suspension countries, those whose citizens are largely barred from entering the United States. Understanding these countries and why they were included is crucial for Americans with family, business, or educational ties abroad. A full suspension means that citizens of these countries cannot enter the U.S. for most visa types unless they meet strict exemptions. Exemptions exist for diplomats and government officials, lawful permanent residents, travelers with previously approved visas before the ban took effect. For everyone else, even tourist, student, or work visas are suspended indefinitely. For Americans, this translates into delayed family reunification, disrupted business relations, and limited educational opportunities. Let's examine the countries under full suspension and why they were included. Afghanistan: ongoing security concerns, limited vetting infrastructure. Burma: political instability, insufficient information sharing. Chad, administrative gaps in traveler screening. Republic of the Congo, security risks and identity verification challenges. Equatorial Guinea, small nation with weak vetting systems. Eritrea, political issues and limited diplomatic engagement. Haiti, security and administrative concerns for visa processing. Iran, national security concerns. History of tensions with U.S. Libya. Ongoing instability and security gaps. Somalia, limited infrastructure for vetting, risk concerns. Sudan, security and identity verification issues. Yemen, civil war, terrorist presence, and vetting limitations. Newly added, 13. Burkina Faso, Laos, Mali, Niger, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Syria, political instability, security gaps, and weak systems for verifying traveler identities. Additionally, travelers using Palestinian Authority documents are fully barred due to insufficient verification protocols. These full suspension countries may seem far away, but Americans feel the consequences in real, tangible ways. Family reunification. Americans with spouses, children, parents, or siblings in these countries may face indefinite separation. Visa interviews are postponed, paperwork may be delayed for months, and travel exemptions are limited. Education impact. Students from these countries may be unable to study in U.S. universities. American universities may see reduced international enrollment, affecting research programs, tuition revenue, and cultural exchange. Business disruption. Companies relying on clients, partners, or employees from these countries may experience delayed projects, disrupted supply chains, and canceled contracts. Community and social life. Diaspora communities in the U.S. may lose access to family or cultural events, and community organizations may face challenges in hosting international participants. Travel and tourism. Americans traveling abroad to visit relatives or for business may find entry impossible, affecting personal and professional plans. Consider these real-world examples. A U.S. citizen married to someone in Niger may have to wait months or longer for visa approval, creating emotional and financial strain. An American university expecting graduate students from Mali or Syria may lose talented students, impacting research output and tuition revenue. A small U.S.-based business working with suppliers in Burkina Faso or South Sudan may face canceled shipments, delaying production and sales. These are just a few examples, but they illustrate the direct effect of foreign travel restrictions on American lives. To summarize Module 3, full suspension countries are barred from most visa categories unless exemptions apply. Each country was included for security, political, or administrative reasons. Americans are impacted in multiple areas: family reunification, education, business, community life, and travel. Understanding these effects helps Americans plan ahead and take proactive steps. In the next module, we will examine the partial restriction countries, explaining which visas are affected and how even limited bans ripple through American families, students, and businesses. Stay with us to learn how even partial bans affect Americans in real life.
In Module 3, we explored full suspension countries and their impact on Americans. Now, we focus on the partial restriction countries, nations where entry to the U.S. is limited by visa category. Partial restrictions may seem less severe, but they can still profoundly affect American families, students, and businesses. A partial restriction means that certain visa types may be delayed, suspended, or subjected to stricter scrutiny, while others may still be allowed. Common visa categories affected include B1/B2, tourist and business visas F1/M1, student visas J1, exchange visitor programs employment-based visas in some cases. While travel may still be possible for some, processing times are longer, interviews are harder to schedule, and approvals are less predictable. The countries under partial restrictions include Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Burundi, Cuba, Côte d'Ivoire, Dominica, Gabon, Gambia, Malawi, Mauritania, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Tonga, Togo, Venezuela, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. These nations may face delays in visa issuance, additional documentation requirements, restricted approvals for certain travel purposes. For Americans, Even a partial restriction can cause major disruptions in personal and professional life. Partial restrictions may seem limited, but the ripple effects are significant. Family impact. Americans with relatives in these countries may face delayed visits or postponed reunifications, even for short trips. Education impact. Students from affected countries may face delayed enrollment, impacting U.S. universities' programs and tuition revenue. Business impact. U.S. companies relying on international employees or clients may experience project delays, canceled meetings, or disrupted operations. Community and cultural impact. Diaspora communities may see delays in cultural events, religious gatherings, and community programs, affecting Americans who participate or organize these events. Let's break down the main visa categories affected. B1/B. 2. Travelers may be denied entry or delayed, impacting Americans who host visiting relatives or business partners. F1/M. 1. Students may miss semester start dates or require special waivers, affecting American universities and research programs. J1. Programs like internships, research, and cultural exchange may be canceled or delayed, reducing opportunities for American students and organizations. Employment-based visas. Partial restrictions may delay foreign employees entering the U.S., impacting American businesses that rely on specialized talent. Here are some examples of how partial restrictions affect Americans. A U.S. citizen sponsoring a brother from Nigeria for a family visit may wait months due to visa processing delays. A university expecting exchange students from Zambia or Togo may lose talented participants, affecting program continuity. A U.S.-based business with a partner in Angola may face postponed contracts, delaying operations and revenue. These examples show that even partial restrictions are far from minor in their impact. To summarize Module 4, partial restrictions apply to specific visa categories in 19 countries. Even without a full ban, these restrictions can delay family visits, education, and business operations. Americans should be aware that these policies have direct consequences on their lives and communities, even if they themselves are not traveling. Understanding which visas are affected helps Americans plan and respond proactively. In the next module, we will examine the reasons and policy rationale behind the 2025 to 2026 U.S. travel ban, providing clarity on why each country was included and how these measures aim to protect U.S. citizens. Stay tuned to understand the reasoning behind these measures and how they safeguard American citizens.
Now that we've examined the full and partial restrictions, it's essential to understand why the U.S. government implements these bans. While it may seem like travel bans target foreign citizens, the rationale is deeply connected to protecting American lives, families, and economic stability. One of the primary reasons for the 2025 to 2026 travel ban is national security. The U.S. government seeks to prevent entry of individuals who may pose terrorism or criminal threats, ensure foreign travelers' identities can be accurately verified, reduce the risk of illegal immigration or fraudulent entry. For Americans, these measures mean enhanced safety. Families can feel more secure knowing that individuals entering the country are vetted thoroughly. Businesses and institutions also benefit from minimized security risks when interacting with foreign partners. Another key reason is administrative and information gaps. Some countries lack robust systems for sharing travel, criminal, or identity information with the U.S. Without reliable data, it becomes difficult to assess visa applications accurately, prompting temporary or partial bans. For Americans, this may translate to longer wait times for family members, students, and business partners, but it also protects U.S. citizens from fraud, overstays, and misrepresentation. Travel bans can also be justified by public health concerns. Past examples include restrictions during global pandemics or outbreaks of contagious diseases. By restricting travel from countries with insufficient health monitoring or outbreak management, the U.S. aims to protect public health. For Americans, this reduces the risk of imported diseases, ensures safer travel, and protects hospitals and communities. The U.S. government also aims to reduce visa fraud. Many countries affected by the 2025 to 2026 ban have histories of Counterfeit documents, misrepresentation on visa applications, identity verification challenges these issues can compromise American security and the integrity of the immigration system. Americans benefit because fraudulent travelers are less likely to enter, protecting communities and businesses from potential harm. Beyond security and administrative concerns, travel bans can also serve strategic economic and policy objectives, encouraging countries to improve data sharing and security protocols, pressuring governments to cooperate on immigration, law enforcement, and international policy, protecting U.S. jobs and economic stability by regulating labor flows from high-risk regions. Americans may not always see the immediate connection, but these measures aim to stabilize industries, universities, and communities at home. So, how does all this affect Americans directly? Family and loved ones. Enhanced security measures can delay reunifications, but also ensure safer travel for families. Education and research. U.S. universities may temporarily face reduced enrollment, but the policy encourages institutions to adapt and ensure compliance, maintaining long-term program integrity. Business and economy. Companies relying on foreign employees or clients may face temporary disruption, but the policy mitigates risks associated with fraud, overstays, and illegal work. Public safety and community protection. Communities benefit from improved vetting and monitoring of travelers, reducing potential threats and ensuring safer interactions. To summarize Module 5, the 2025 to 2026 travel ban exists for national security, administrative accuracy, public health, fraud prevention, and strategic policy reasons. While it imposes restrictions on foreign travelers, it is ultimately designed to protect Americans at home. The ban's ripple effects are felt in families, universities, businesses, and communities, making it crucial for U.S. citizens to understand its purpose. In the next module, we will examine the social, cultural, and human impacts of the ban, how it affects American communities, diaspora ties, and daily life across the country. Stay tuned to see the human and societal side of the 2025 to 2026 travel ban. In the previous modules, we explored the countries affected, visa categories, and policy rationale. In this final module, we examine the human and societal impacts, how this travel ban affects Americans in real life. Families are at the center of this impact. Americans with spouses, children, parents, or siblings in affected countries face delayed reunions due to visa backlogs, limited travel options for emergencies, emotional strain caused by indefinite separation. For example, a U.S. citizen married to someone in Nigeria or Sudan may wait months or even years to bring their spouse home. This affects breadwinners, caregivers, and family stability. Education is another sector heavily impacted. Students from partially or fully restricted countries may miss semester start dates, drop out or defer studies, affecting U.S. universities' programs, reduce cultural diversity on campuses. American students and faculty also feel the ripple effect. Collaborative research, internships, and exchange programs may be disrupted. For businesses, travel bans can create disrupted supply chains if employees or partners cannot enter the U.S., delayed projects and contracts, affecting revenue, challenges in recruiting or maintaining international talent. Americans employed in these sectors may face job instability or operational disruptions. Diaspora communities experience social and cultural disruptions. Families unable to bring relatives for weddings, funerals, or celebrations, community centers delaying cultural programs, reduced international visitors affecting festivals, religious events, and cultural exchange programs. These gaps impact Americans who rely on these networks for identity, support, and connection. The human impact goes beyond logistics. Americans may experience stress and anxiety over family separation, uncertainty and frustration over visa delays, emotional strain on breadwinners and caregivers. Awareness of these challenges helps Americans plan proactively and cope effectively. Americans can take steps to minimize disruption, stay informed about visa updates and policy changes, seek legal assistance for family or business-related visas, plan travel and education contingencies, engage community organizations for support and advocacy. Proactive measures help families, students, and businesses navigate restrictions with minimal disruption. To summarize Module 6, the travel ban affects Americans socially, culturally, and emotionally. Families face separation, universities face reduced enrollment, businesses experience operational challenges, and communities face cultural gaps. Emotional and psychological impacts are real, affecting daily life. Americans can respond by staying informed, seeking legal guidance, and engaging with communities. This concludes our documentary series on the 2025 to 2026 U.S. travel ban, providing a complete reference for understanding the policy, rationale, and impact on Americans.